G'day adventure addicts, welcome back to another episode of Adventure News. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're looking towards 2024, so let's talk about the most anticipated bikes of 2024 and the big changes ahead. This looks to be finally the KTM 390 adventure that we've wanted all along. Not an adventure tourer that is basically a road bike. This looks like it's properly capable of off-road riding. Yes, it is still the heart of the Duke 390, but KTM have finally bolted on components that will make this off-road capable. Whether it's the upgraded 399cc motor out of the Duke, making more power, more torque at 39 Newton meters, which is a decent increase over the outgoing model considering the lightweight nature of these little bikes, as well as bringing that peak power down 1000 RPMs, the 21/18 wheel setup, the longer travel suspension, the rally tower, the trimmer look for the tighter off-road riding. There's a lot to like about this KTM 390 adventure. Of course, things can change as it's still in development. I will point out that I'm a little concerned about that low slung exhaust. If you're going through a deep water crossing, that could be problematic. Hopefully it's just something they've bolted on temporarily as they test the bike. Perhaps they'll change it by the time this bike is released. If not, I really hope the aftermarket comes to save us because that seems like a little bit of a dumb decision. Other than that, I'm really looking forward to this bike as it finally looks like it's broken out of the small adventure tourer bike mold. This looks like a proper off-road ready, small displacement adventure bike. My only other wish is that they either keep it the same or even lighter weight than the current 390 Adventure. If they manage that, I think this will please an awful lot of people. I'd love to know your thoughts. How excited are you for this little KTM? Next up, let's talk about another hugely popular bike for the year and is going to be hitting the showrooms everywhere and will be a very popular bike in my opinion for 2024, and that's the Royal Enfield Himalayan 452. I think this bike really is going to take the dual sport and adventure world by storm. Royal Enfield have just announced the pre-order first taker price for Australia and it's $8,990 right away. That is crazy value. So to put that in context, that's roughly the same price as the CRF 300L and the CRF 300 Rally from Honda. So incredible value. I believe this bike is probably going to take the place of the Kawasaki KLR 650 for the modern generation. Now hear me out for the older blokes that are saying that's absolute heresy, because yes, we don't have the long-term reliability yet, but there's a lot of features that match the KLR 650. This isn't a bike that's meant to be ridden hard and fast off-road. This is for the guy that likes to explore the back roads but wants a utilitarian, simple yet capable machine that they can depend on and is capable enough to get them wherever they need, but at a gentlemanly pace. And of course they need value for money, because that was one of the big selling points of the KLR 650. It was the everyman dual sport or adventure bike because everyone could afford one. The Kawasaki's crept up in price, in weight, in features, in complexity. I think the Royal Enfield Himalayan 452 is in a good position to take that crown. We've got 40 horsepower, 40 Newton meters of torque, 21-inch front wheel, 200 mils of travel, a big 17-litre fuel tank on a little 450cc single, switchable ABS, TFT screen with maps directly on the digital display, and all for a ridiculously low price. The only thing we have to wait and see on is reliability, as this is a brand new motorcycle. I can see why so many of you are so excited for this bike. Off-road capability, simplicity matched to a basically unbeatable price tag. The value of this bike is crazy. I'd love to know your thoughts about the bike. Are you upgrading from the 411? Are you jumping ship from another dual sport, or will this be your first adventure or dual sport motorcycle? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let's talk about the 450 MT and why so many people are super excited despite this being a Chinese motorcycle. I think the big one is the motor. 450cc's parallel twin but 270-degree crank. That is generally speaking something that is limited to the middleweights and the flagship adventure bikes. You don't get an engine with that characteristic burble, that 270-degree crank in this small displacement category. The sound of a bike, that emotional connection and how you respond to the power characteristics really helps you connect to the bike, at least in my experience. So I think that is going to be massively important. You've got tubeless spoke wheels with that 21-inch front, which I think is fantastic. It's got decent KYB suspension as well. The front forks are compression and rebound adjustable, and the rear shock is fully adjustable. Another feature that we really don't see in this end of the segment. We have switchable ABS, an impressive 17.5 litre tank, which given the small capacity of this motor should see you get a decent distance. It also makes 44 horsepower and 44 newton meters of torque. CF Moto has just released the price of the 450 MT here in Australia, and I gotta say I'm absolutely staggered at the price. It's the same price as the Himalayan 452, which is $8,990 right away. That's a crazy price for here in Australia. That's over $2,000 cheaper than the CB500X, which is a huge amount of money when you're looking at that end of the market, and value for money is the top priority. If you offer value for money mated to the right performance and features that people actually want, you can overcome just about anything. And I think that's what we're seeing with this bike. So I'm really looking forward to getting a leg over and seeing what this little 450 MT is all about. Now we move on to the major themes that I think we really need to keep an eye on for 2024. The first of those trends is the reinvigoration of the small displacement adventure bike market, and I couldn't be happier. Finally, we're seeing the most anticipated bikes, the most exciting bikes being small adventure bikes rather than flagship bikes or yet another middleweight with basically the same features as every other manufacturer. And I think this is for a couple of reasons. I think one, people are really having an awakening that when you're getting off-road, having a big, huge behemoth or of a motorcycle, particularly when you're a beginner, isn't the best idea. So a more manageable, small displacement adventure bike with most of the features of the big bikes really is a great option. The second is the value for money proposition. I think it's no secret that economically we're not doing too great, and the average person is really feeling the pinch. Throwing a whole pile of money on a big, expensive flagship motorcycle is getting more and more impractical by the day. So being able to get a bike with most of the features of the big bike at half, a third, a quarter of the price really is a huge value proposition. People want bikes that they can actually afford. The second major trend is that I think we're seeing a major shift in the who's who of manufacturers. That is the dominant forces within the motorcycle industry. I made a video talking about how we're witnessing the beginnings of China maybe pulling what Japan pulled off in the 60s and 70s, and that is taking over the market with better value motorcycles that offer the same features and sometimes even better features and performance than the competition. I think we're witnessing that slowly happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen next year or in 2 years, but it is a process that I think has started. And I think that is also the case with India. I'm going to talk about this in a video focusing just on India itself, but I don't think they're too far behind China. And it's a very interesting trend seeing some of the most anticipated bikes coming out next year being from countries that you don't typically associate with the top dogs of the motorcycle industry. When we think the best of the best motorcycle wise, we think Europe, we think Japan, and we may even think America, but we certainly don't think China or India. And I think that's about to change. Not because I believe in any one of those countries particularly, or I have some bias. I just like change in the industry, because change and developments and competition generally means a win-win for the consumer, because that means that the established manufacturers will either have to compete and offer better value, better features, more performance, and really up their game, or it means that they will fade into history and that we'll get brand new offerings from manufacturers we never expected and a whole new golden era of motorcycles. I think whichever way this lands, it's a win-win for the consumer. What are you looking forward to in 2024? Are you keeping an eye on a particular trend? Chuck your thoughts down below. Finally, I'd like to thank you for your support. 2023 has been the hardest year of my life, with my daughter being born, managing this business, my wife's full-time with work, renovating the house, and everything I've got going on in my life, it's been super busy. But one thing that I've loved to do is being able to focus every week on motorcycles and talk with you guys and share my excitement, my enthusiasm for the off-road motorcycle world. So I just want to thank you, the community, for your support over 2023, and I look forward to all our interactions for 2024. So a big thank you to everyone, and as always, don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in 2024.